This episode of Main Street Moxie is proudly sponsored by Kindred Property Care and Northeast Ford.
Happy Moxie Monday, Mary. How are you today?
I am doing well, and I'm very excited about our guest today.
Yes, someone you've been talking to or talking about with me for a while, and you say this is community Moxie.
Yes, I've had my eye on Michael Kevin Baldwin for a while,
Yes.
and I think he is a great example of Moxie.
Mm-hmm.
He is the Associate Artistic Director and Director of Education at Sharon Playhouse in Sharon, Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
He has had a life of theater in his wake as a performer,
Mm-hmm.
and then as an educator.
Mm-hmm.
And then he relocated up here and has just gone from strength to strength. And I'm really excited about what he has to say about the role of theater in Moxie and cultivating Moxie, and in how a community can create Moxie through the arts.
Yeah, well, let's dive in.
Let's do it. Kindred Property Care is the tri-state area's premier landscape contractor. They are a full-service landscaping company that is dedicated to providing homeowners and commercial accounts with the landscape projects of their dreams. When it comes to stone masonry, landscape development, landscape and gardening maintenance, snow and ice services, or 3D renderings and designs, Kindred Property Care has you covered. To learn more, you can call 860-397-5267 or visit www.kindredpropertycare.com.
Michael, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
The first question we always dive into is, how would you define Moxie?
Moxie.
I thought you were going to break it to song.
I might. Yeah. Moxie. So this is a good question. I think, to me, Moxie is sort of broken down into three different things.
Mm-hmm.
I would say courage, energy, and determination. So for me, I think that Moxie, although there's an aspect of it that is sort of ineffable, unable to describe what that is, I think that were we to, make a recipe for it, I would say it takes a little bit of courage, a little bit of like that inner ability to deal with fear and move through challenging things. Energy, just the literal like synapses in your body that are moving. And determination. So having a clear goal in mind, I'm a theater person, so the language that we use as actors is your objective. What is your character's objective and how are they going to get it? So I think part of Moxie is being a person who has clear goals and has a pathway to achieving those goals or creates one.
You could tell.
Yeah.
He is an educator because he deconstructs a complex term
boy.
into its elements.
It's true.
Yeah.
And I learned something.
I know, right?
I am a teacher, so if you can always cut that out if there's ever like too much where I'm like, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
My students feel it as well. So,
So how have you used that in your life?
Good question. And first and foremost, I would say, I don't know that it's been necessarily conscious, I don't know that at some point I woke up and said to myself, like, Michael, you've got Moxie, and now you're going to be courageous, you're going to be energetic, and we are determined to get to where you want to
like
go.
Stuart Smalley.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think, I think the Moxie, and I really appreciate you thinking that I have Moxie. It's a wonderful compliment. I think that any Moxie that I have running through my body is a product of my family and the community I grew up with and the privileges that I had to be able to go to college and live in New York City for a while and pursue my dreams. And and a little bit of all of the fabulous people that I've met in my life, So I think that the Moxie that I've had has been a combination of being a little bit of a fighter and growing up and experiencing some personal challenges and some identity crises and figuring out who I am. And then also being an extrovert, being a theater person, being someone who enjoys entertainment and enjoys making people laugh and hearing a response from two people or a crowd of people. So for me, I think Moxie has been, I think there's a little bit of nature and nurture in Moxie. Like it's cool to know. I say that about being an actor, and this is something I say it. Meryl Streep said. So
and it must be true.
Yeah, I stole from Streep. She said something to the effect of, to be an actor, there has to be something like in your wiring, some chip in you that has to want to be on display and express all of the emotions and have that running through you. So, and I think there's an element of that in terms of Moxie, but I also think it can be learned, or it can be developed, or it can be exercised.
So it's interesting that you see it as a nature-nurture thing. And this unconsciousness of Moxie has been a theme that we've had from other people, that it's not like you wake up, but tomorrow you will, because we have baptized you in Moxie.
Yes.
And tomorrow you'll wake up and say it. But before that, Michael 1.0 you just did what you needed to do or what you felt driven to do.
Yeah.
And that's been a quality that's come out over and over again. Yeah. So we're really interested in your trajectory from onstage actor, which you haven't left totally behind. You still act, but from actor to educator, and what made that part of your arc?
Yeah. It's interesting in your life. Sometimes you can't figure out when something shifted, and sometimes you can boil it down to a specific moment in time. And this is one thing in my life that I really can pinpoint when this shift happened for me. And that was when I was just turning 30. I had gotten a job, an acting job that I was incredibly proud of. It was a 2-person play at a great regional theater. I was getting paid more money than I had ever been paid as an actor. I had my own house and a car provided by the theater, and, kind of the stuff that I had been working towards all through my 20s. And it was a regional gig, so it was away from home. And professionally, I was like, yes, this is what I've been working towards. This is what I wanted. And yet, those were the loneliest 3 months of my life. I was housed alone. I was 30 minutes from the theater. And although the work was validating, something in me said, I'm not fulfilled. I'm not satisfied. And what I didn't know it at the time, but what I came to realize was that I flourish when I'm a member of a community, when I have people around me and I see those people and interact with those people and laugh with those people on a daily, hourly, minute basis. And so while I was doing that job, I applied for a graduate program in educational theater, which a friend of mine had done. And that I ended up getting into that program. That was NYU, but then I got a national tour of a play. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm going to do this play. But the seed had been planted for the world of education. And that friend who did the NYU program also owned and ran a theater camp for teenagers in Maine. And so the following summer, I went up and directed a production of The 39 Steps with 11 to 17-year-olds This was the summer of 2012, so just over 10 years ago, and everything changed. I mean, the joy, the sense of purpose, the sense of community, the fun that I had that summer, it was a real awakening for me. And I think that I had, unfortunately, subscribed to a bit of those who can't do teach mantra that certainly exists in the entertainment business. There's that famous line in A Chorus Line, which is a show that I did at the Sharon Playhouse 20 years ago, in which Sheila says, lately I've been thinking maybe I would open a dance studio and teach. And the way it's often delivered is like this defeatist, I didn't make it mentality. So for me, back in 2012, when I was up in Maine, when that shift happened and I had this moment of absolute joy in working with these kids as a director and as an educator, it wasn't a defeatist experience. It was truly a hallelujah moment of possibility. And that really excited me. So I then had heard about a class at City College in New York, and it was a non-matriculated class. So I took that. It was drama in education, loved it, and ended up applying to that program and got my graduate degree in theater education. So my transition from being an actor to being kind of a more holistic theater artist and educator really happened when I think I was beginning to acknowledge that I wasn't entirely fulfilled or happy as an actor. And I started to look out and wonder what else existed. And then all of a sudden, this kind of playground of opportunity presented itself.
I like that playground of opportunity. We may have to put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, no.
You've brought up the term community in a number of contexts and throughout. And obviously with the Sharon Playhouse, that is a huge factor.
Yeah.
How do you view that as it being part of your life from when you started acting?
Yeah. I can't speak enough about this.
Yeah.
To me, community is kind of my daily lifeline, my mantra. Our tagline, our motto for the Sharon Playhouse is create community together. And I love that so much because it is sort of, it's like a daily mission statement for me, and we have a mission statement for the Playhouse, which is, a paragraph or 5 sentences long, but create community together really kind of just says it all in 3 simple words. So for me, community, growing up in Salisbury, Connecticut, and growing up, my first show at the Sharon Playhouse was when I was 10 years old. And so I remember so clearly auditioning for that show and being on stage in that show, rehearsing for that show. And it was filled with community, other, peers, kids from other schools in New York State, kids from Massachusetts, kids from other Region 1 schools, and then adults in the community, and then all of these magical, amazing professionals from New York City who I was just enamored with. And so for me early on, community was not only going to the library or going to On the Run or
The Grove
or CVS. You can't go to CVS and not see someone, I
know.
Unless
Especially
you
when you're picking up that prescription, you'd rather know.
Yeah, exactly. Hi, how's it going? I'll see you in theater class tomorrow. Yeah, so, unless you wear a wig and sunglasses when you go to CVS, you're gonna see somebody. My husband, who grew up in South Carolina, is still baffled by that. He's like, people know me because of you. You know, I go out and they're like, hey, Will. And he's like, my default is always just, hey, it's good to see you, you know. But so for me, early on in my life, this community, this small town, this where everybody knows your name, you know, that mentality was part of my daily life, and I loved it. And I realize now that that's something that I was hungering for and thirsty for in my 20s as I was a professional actor living in New York City. And so that aspect of small town life combined with the incredible community part of the theater world. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's really the beauty of theater is that aspect of community. You know, it's ephemeral because a show has a start date and an end date. But during that time, when you start rehearsals with a group of people of any age, and you are working together as an ensemble to tell a story, and you're building trust, and you are stepping into other people's shoes and using our muscle of empathy to, you know, to express what it's like to be someone else or to tell someone else's story. That magical connection that you create with a group of people is the only level of community that I've experienced in my life that matches the small town level of community. So where those two things intersect, like small town life plus theater magic community life, is a small town theater in, you know, is the Sharon Playhouse. That's what it is. And and really, I use this term a lot. Like we had an interview the other day for our seasonal staff, and someone said, what do you think is special about the Sharon Playhouse? And I said, heart. The Sharon Playhouse has so much heart, and I could get emotional about it. But the people that work there, the people that are on the board, our staff, our patrons, our donors, our educational program, the kids that are involved, the parkers in the parking lot, the ushers, you know, it takes a village to put on a show. And so when professionals come up from New York City and work at and experience the Sharon Playhouse, they see it. It's this kind of unmatched, special little combination of artistry and community. And that creates heart. It's this like warm, magic happiness that is truly special.
I always feel like, having gone to Sharon productions for decades, it punches above its weight all the time. Even when it was when you were a child and acting, it was really people from the community who were from the community. Yeah. And you always left feeling like, how did that come out of this you know, wooden camp-like structure? Yeah. And it's just gone from strength to strength. And that aspirational punching above its weight, I think, is also a result of that heart and that pulling together we have something special here and we need to pay homage to that. Yeah. So that from an audience perspective, that's how I've experienced the theater. I
love that. I think that's, I think you just got at kind of the kernel of what's really special about the Sharon Playhouse. And it's always really rewarding because our job, the staff, there's 5 full-time staff members at the Sharon Playhouse. It's a lot of work. Yeah. It is. I mean, I recently saw a meme on Facebook that had a big triangle, and it said, I think it's for artists, and it's like, it just has a line at the tip of the triangle, and it's like the work that you see, and then everything else is the work that happens. And I don't want to say that other jobs, that could apply to many jobs, right? But the intense amount of work that we do to put on a show in a barn is unbelievable. And yet in my opinion, the end justifies the means, or the end justifies the beans, as they say in Into the Woods, because our community gets so many benefits from that work and from that special experience when a group of people go and sit in that barn and collectively see a story unfold.
Right. I want to get into more of your work with youth. So you're the education director at Sharon Playhouse.
Yep.
I want to talk about your work with youth and this theme of community and the articles that we read about young people, alienation, loneliness, anxiety, isolation, disconnection. And I feel like your role as a theater educator goes beyond teaching lines and making sure people emote properly or get the timing right. I feel like that's a heavy part, like a privilege, a duty, something that you have to take on. How do you feel about that? Do you feel that weight of that responsibility to help these kids experience community, even if it is for a short period of time?
That's a good question. I didn't feel the weight until now.
Way to go, Mary.
Yeah. Oh, boy. No, truthfully, here's the cool thing, and I've always felt this, is because I worked for 7 years at the Brearley School in Manhattan, and I was a drama teacher there. So whether I'm in an academic institution like a school, or at the Sharon Playhouse, or as a Sharon Playhouse teaching artist going into schools, the great thing about being a theater educator and doing what I do is that we're the fun class, right? Like, I don't grade kids. I don't write comments. I don't, I do an in-school residency at IMS. I'm not there administering exams or anything. So I say that to say, I see the incredible benefits of what theater education does for young people in terms of self-confidence and exploring their identity and communication and working through emotional challenges.
And Moxie.
Oh my, that's true. I mean, yeah.
Right?
I feel like I am a
Teach Moxie.
I'm a Moxie teacher. I teach Moxie.
You need an MMS, a Master of Moxie Science.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's my new. I'm no longer the education director and associate artistic director. I'm director of Moxie at Sharon Playhouse. So for me, I don't feel the weight or the pressure of that. On a daily basis, I get to have fun while also seeing the benefits of that.
Right.
And I will say, though, that I double majored in college. I went to Skidmore College, and I double majored in theater and sociology. And I remember so specifically coming home at the end of my sophomore year and being like, hey, Mom and Dad, guess what? I'm going to be a double major in theater and sociology. And my dad was like, what? What do you do with that? And I was like, I don't know, but it's what I want to do. I remember.
Are you the youngest?
I'm the second youngest.
Okay.
Yeah. With 3 older sisters. So at that point, my parents were like, what? We signed on for a liberal arts degree, but this, philosophy might be one step farther. But I remember, theater and sociology, like, seriously, what do you do with that? And here I am, years later, the associate artistic director and director of education. And it really is like that intersection of not only the razzle dazzle elements of theater, but also the life skills and self-advocacy and growth that comes with arts education and young people. So I feel a sense of validation. So I'm a big, advocate for liberal arts education because as you heard me say in my graduation speech last year, you don't know what you don't know. So I didn't know what theater and sociology would lead to, but 20 years later,
there you are.
Here I am.
Look, Mom and Dad, look at the sociology degree coming in handy.
Yeah, I'm going down to spend a week with my parents in Florida, and I haven't actually circled back to that moment. So maybe I'll be like, remember when you didn't know what this would be?
They'll deny everything.
Yeah, they'll be like, what?
But we knew where it was going.
Yeah. And they did. They supported me all the way.
Northeast Ford offers great sales and service, including a no-charge pickup and delivery for any service, even with oil changes. And they offer 2-year unlimited oil changes with any vehicle purchase, new or pre-owned.
Northeast Ford makes buying, selling, or trading in your car super easy. They have charging stations for your electric vehicle and a ready cash now offer and vehicle check on the spot if you wish to sell your vehicle. And they provide help with all the paperwork.
They service 6 counties, and they are located at 182 Route 44 in Millerton, where you can swing by and see Lan and his great sales team.
Or visit them online at www.northeastfordmillerton.com. I was saying to Thorin before we started that, and this is a feeling I have about you, that you're the type of educator that doesn't look at this monolithic end goal, like we're going to get this production on. I mean, which you have to do, obviously. But you're often working with kids who don't necessarily have acting experience or an instinct about it. And you strike me as the type of person that looks at each member of the cast. And while you have the larger goal in the back of your mind, you're saying, how can I get this child to move forward in their own trajectory? And that you don't have this just, again, monolithic view of it. You're taking each child where they are and where you think they could get to and trying to unearth, how do I motivate this child to get here?
Yeah.
Is that a good feeling about you?
It is. You know, it's so interesting that you say that, because I'm directing Oliver this summer at the Sharon Playhouse, and we have local auditions coming up in March, and we have 140 people signed up for local adults, 18 plus, which is a huge number.
Yeah. And
that's very exciting for us.
So this isn't a children's production. This is one of the main stage productions.
This is a main stage production. And so we have 140 adults auditioning for our season. That's not even New York City auditions, right? Last year, just to give you like a data point, we had almost 2,000 submissions for our New York City auditions.
That's amazing.
It's crazy.
Wow.
So that just to give you some context of the amount of people that want to perform and the excitement surrounding what we're doing at the Playhouse. So the reason I say that is a lot of people a lot of my peers daydream about directing a show on Broadway or directing a show with Broadway talent or movie stars, right? I daydream about how to creatively use people in our community to tell stories. And I'm not like bragging about that. It's a fact of who I am. And I don't know that I fully understand it, but it's something that I believe I'm in my dream job, and I love my job. And the fact that I get to direct Oliver and use local kids and local fabulous, talented local people in the community and professionals and figure out the puzzle of how to put all of those people together to create a production of Oliver for our community really excites me. So my response to that is there's something in my wiring that I think gets excited about looking at a group of people and figuring out what is the best aspect of their personality, their talent, how best to use them in a creative way.
So I would like to audition right now.
Great.
Please, sir, may I have some more?
Your cast.
So I know that I have some latent talent. I took an improv class with you.
Yes, you
a
did.
Workshop, a one-night workshop during COVID or the tail end of COVID.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I've been waiting for the call because I know you saw in me something.
Yeah.
And I haven't gotten the call yet.
I know it went through. So
right.
Maybe check your voicemail.
But what really struck me, because I'm an educator as well, is the use of improv to cultivate skills and traits. And I wonder if you can talk about that a little bit, how you see improv and it being a team sport and what it requires to tell a story and how that can really boost someone.
Yeah. Absolutely. There was a study recently that came out by the University of Michigan that basically detailed why improv and the study of improv and the practice of improv in middle schoolers can greatly enhance their not only happiness, but their academic aptitude, their social skills, all of these things. So
and Moxie.
And Moxie, 100% with the Moxie. So there's all this data out there. But for me, the skills of improv, the number one is yes and. And that means when, if you and I, Mary, are in a scene together and you say something, my job as your scene partner is to accept what you've put out there and to add on to it, right? Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean if you say,
I'd like the starring role in Oliver,
that I need to say yes, and you will have your own dressing room, right? It means I accept what you're saying and I build onto it, right? Absolutely.
And not a snowball's chance in hell.
And remember, there are many starring roles. So if you could, we do need someone to carry off the tray at the end of scene one. No, but so improv, just the skill, let's start with yes and. For an 11-year-old, for an 11 through, people of all ages, but the skill of saying yes and, which means listening to someone else, taking in what they've said and building onto it. That's a life skill that we are practicing for the rest of our lives, Right. Now, many, not all, but many middle schoolers or teenagers are at a time in their life for a number of reasons where rather than yes and, it is no but, or no why, or whatever, no thanks, like any number of those responses. So to have a fun way and that creates laughter and joy in the space while also really practically practicing accepting what someone gives you, listening to someone, accepting, and then adding on to it is a skill that serves all of us, It's just something that I think is so important and really it's something that I see the benefits of on a regular basis.
Well, I experienced that.
Yeah.
For that workshop. I did. I really did. I came home and I'm like, there's, and the way you approach it, we're not just doing improv, the improv guideline sheet that you hand out during the class. You're really giving a why this is important. And I think when you contextualize it in this larger, it's not just because it's funny or it's a great party game.
Yeah.
It's got some real meat to it.
Yeah.
And I think that also when I interviewed you for an article that I was writing at the high school, you talked about the theater as a vehicle for exploring difficult emotions or societal issues in kind of this safe space because it's not real per se. It's on the stage, but yet it is real. And I'm wondering if you could talk about how you infuse that, the empathy and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, there's not a class, there's not a lot of classes in schools where we get to practice emotions. Right. There are, when I was a full-time teacher in a school, I was an advisor. And so there's advisory classes, there's life skills classes, and there's a big aspect of schools these days is exploring social and emotional learning,
Right.
which is very important. In my opinion, one of the best, if not the best ways to explore social and emotional learning, or let me rephrase that, to learn socially and emotionally, is through theater, is to go to the theater and sit in a space and watch A Raisin in the Sun, as we had many theater groups come last year to the Sharon Playhouse, many high school student groups, and watch a story unfold and experience even just a little bit what it's like to be this family in Chicago, going through what they're going through. And so whether it's watching a show or being in a scene study class and stepping into role, or in an improv workshop, or being in rehearsal for a show in which you are playing a part. And I mean, even whether it's musical theater at its most like razzle dazzle fun, like entertainment level, all the way down to Death of a Salesman, like the most serious drama. There are ways for young people, but really people of all ages, to connect with others and have fun and express themselves, but also tap into emotional experiences or emotional blocks that they may not have any other way to tap into or to express or to navigate. And so for me, I not only feel it on a daily basis as a theater artist myself, but I see it with young people and adults that I work with. I see them being able to, through theater, being able to experience and do things that they otherwise never would even think of.
Is it the freedom to be someone else? Be someone in someone else's shoes?
Yeah. And exactly.
Yeah.
To step into someone else's shoes, or to step into another version of yourself.
Right.
When I have auditions with young people, I like to use the acronym PACE, PACE. And pace, of course, means, like speed.
Yeah,
so, just in general, like have a good pace. You don't want to go too fast. You don't want to go too slow. But then the P stands for personality. So show us you. We are looking to get to know you. The A is acting. What I mean by that is this is your opportunity to scream at your parent, or to sing about being in love, or to be the like older brother bully that you don't get permission to be at home. And then C is choices and E is energy. But so that A, that acting, it gives us the opportunity to, yes, step into someone else's shoes, but also exercise or try on different aspects of our own personality, which I think is Moxie building, in a really fun and structured way. If I went to CVS and went up to the prescription counter and said, "Give me my prescription. My name's Michael Baldwin," they'd be like, "Sir, we'll be with you in 20 minutes. But in a rehearsal space, I get to take that script and I get to exercise, as Goldie Hawn says in The First Wives Club, holding a glass full of vodka. She says, "I'm an actress. I have all of the emotions." We're human beings. We have all of the emotions, but we don't always get the opportunity and the permission to exercise them.
So my own children would say that I must think all the world's a stage because all those emotions have come out without the help of being in a play. You did the commencement speech at Housatonic Valley Regional High School in June.
Yep.
Where you announced that you had gotten married. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And you also made the striking admission that you wore a fanny pack. And so,
yes,
what was in that sucker?
Absolutely. This is a good
And do
question.
you carry one now that they're back in style again?
You know, I don't carry one now, but
Or wear one.
I should start wearing one. That it would prove very useful in the summertime at the Sharon Playhouse to have a fanny pack and to have like hand sanitizer, a pencil, sunglasses, a tape measure, you know, like just everything you kind of need as you're running around the campus of a playhouse. But yes, I wore a fanny pack in high school, especially freshman and sophomore year. I think maybe come junior year, I became self-aware. Also my voice dropped. So I was happy to be that kind of sprightly 9th and 10th grader who was like ready to go. Well, my lunch money, which my dad worked for Salisbury Bank for years. And so my lunch money every day for 4 years of high school was a $2 bill and a $1 coin. So it was $3. And I'm not exaggerating because my dad's staple
What a banking show-off.
Total show-off.
Oh my gosh.
I, of course, was, and I still receive $2 bills in the mail from my dad, and I live a half a mile from him, just so you know. So it's his trademark. He just passes out $2 bills.
Never gave me one.
Well, yeah, okay. I'll make sure he listens to this, and you will receive one. Maybe in that drop in the drive-through here. So definitely in my fanny pack would have been my $3 lunch money, probably a pencil, probably my wallet with my, eventually my driver's license, but also my Yo Kids card. Do you remember Yo Kids? Do you remember what that was? That was a, Region 1 dance that happened in Canaan on a regular basis. Yes. I went to do the electric slide and to have the $1 slices of pizza that you could get. I wasn't super into exploring romantic opportunities. I was just interested in starring on the dance floor and eating pizza. But so those were the type of things that were probably in my fanny pack.
Okay. Well, it sounds like many of the same things would still be there today.
Exactly. Nothing has changed in, 25 years.
No, not much. Mm-hmm. So Thorin, we're at that time.
Okay, I have to collect myself.
I know
I'm just having a visual of fanny packs, and I don't think I've ever seen a $2 bill. So to Papa Baldwin, if we can, I can see Mary's when she gets hers.
Yes, I'll make sure to arrive. For sure, minimum.
But the final question we'll always ask everyone: if you could give anyone advice as to how they could move their Moxie needle, whether it be a little bit, a lot, or maybe just look at something differently, what might it be?
Oh boy. Well, sign up for classes at the Sharon Playhouse.
Enough said.
Of course, a little plug there. No, I joke, but actually, sign up for classes at the Sharon Playhouse. Come see shows at the Sharon Playhouse. Get involved. Yeah. I think that there are many incredible arts organizations.
Yeah.
We are very lucky in this incredible community that we live in, and the Sharon Playhouse is one of them. But stay involved in the arts and experience as much art, whether that's visual art, music, performing arts, because it rubs off.
Yeah.
It affects you. And I do think that Moxie looks different. You can be an introvert and have a lot of Moxie. So that's one way. And then on the night that you took the improv workshop, when I conduct that, it's called Adult Comedy Night. There are two rules, and those rules are feel good and play. So feel good meaning if it's an exercise that feels good to participate, great. If it feels good to sit off to the side and drink a glass of wine and watch other people make fools of themselves, then do that. And then play. I work at a playhouse. That's literally what my job is, I direct plays. And that derives from the Greek word paizo, which means to jest or to sing or to dance. So I think I would use those rules as suggestions for developing Moxie, which is on a daily basis, find time for yourself to feel good. If that means exercising, if it means meditating, if it means writing, playing an instrument, being with people, but self-care, so self feeling good, really tapping into a moment where you as an individual can feel whole and feel good.
Yeah.
And then play. And we all have different versions of play. And that can be singing alone in the shower, or it can be in rehearsal for a show at a local theater. So I would say find time on a daily basis for yourself to feel good and find time to play. And your Moxie barometer will slowly inch its way up.
Amen.
Yeah. I think Mary's going to sign up for another class.
I will be.
I'll sit off on the side, drinking the wine.
There we go. Yep.
I have to say, it's very disorienting to do a workshop as an adult who's never had any acting background and kind of shedding that inhibition. So I'm going to take your advice on all levels.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another aspect of Moxie is be a student. And I take that for myself. I still try to sign up and take as many classes as I can. I go to that yoga class and struggle with that tree pose and balancing, because being in that space.
Oh, it's so easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, easy. Just stand on one leg. Flamingos do it, So yeah, being a student and encouraging yourself to go to that space of vulnerability and maybe a little bit of fear is character building.
Yeah. Well, we could all use growth.
Yeah.
And in every aspect, and I love that. Play.
Yeah.
Feel good and play. I feel great now.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Michael, for taking the time out of
My
playing.
pleasure. Yeah.
Work.
This was very much play, so I appreciate it. This was fun.
Well, you made it a lot of fun for us too, so I appreciate you coming to our office and telling us about yourself, your life, and the Sharon Playhouse.
My pleasure.
So, Thorin,
Mary.
what did you think of Michael Kevin Baldwin?
First off, he was so much fun. I considered for a brief second maybe taking a class, but I think the sitting on the sideline with a glass of wine and watching you do improv would be more fun for me personally.
I believe by the end of it, he would have you up and out of your comfort zone and doing it.
I believe you after meeting him. Yes. And somehow I trust him enough that I might actually do it, which is scary. But, since he is the head of Moxie at Sharon Playhouse.
Yes, we have recast his role there.
Yeah.
I hope the board gets the memo, or the theater itself. But anyway.
They will now.
Yeah.
No, I think, meeting him was wonderful. He is so charismatic. It is obvious that, he is in this role as an actor, as a leader, as an educator. And I think as he said, he plays, he has fun, and it's something that I think all of us would love to do. And so to see that he found his passion, does that every day, and just has so much fun with it is amazing. He oozes that. And to learn about his process and his trajectory in this field and in his life and how he gives back is inspiring on so many levels.
Yes, his dedication and his dedication to community.
Yes.
And the energy he derives from community. It's really a wonderful thing to hear about, and to see him walking that walk.
Yes.
I think his role as an educator, he is a theater whisperer. He really is able to get people doing what he needs them to do for the sake of the larger project.
Yeah.
And to see that in kids and watch them bloom and evolve before your eyes on the stage, and watch them carry that confidence back into their life is just stunning. It's stunning.
And when you talked about the importance of the studies about, improv in middle schoolers, you and I are both parents. And so I'm thinking of my kids, and I'm sure you thought of your kids who are a little older, but I mean, your daughter does stand up, these are skills that they take through life. And I thought a little differently about that. And, but I'm someone who comes from an arts education too. And so of course I value, but to hear from his perspective, how deeply important it is just a social commentary on our education system too, and how important these things are, in fact, to our, not just creativity, but to our well-being and our health and happiness.
And creating empathy for people you don't know, which we've both talked about as being in short supply these days, and he's at the forefront.
Yeah.
So great episode.
I had so much fun, and I can't wait to check out some plays this summer at the Sharon Playhouse.
Yes, those will be on our website in the show notes. This episode of Main Street Moxie is proudly sponsored by Kindred Property Care and Northeast Ford.